Coalition, and I'm pleased to welcome you all. For those of you who are joining us for the first time here at Dominican, I hope you found it okay. I hope parking wasn't too onerous, but we're working on that. Anyway, we're pleased to welcome you for the long overdue return of Damon Connolly to our podium. As most of you know, Marin Coalition is a 501c3 nonprofit entity, and we survive on the donations and support of our public, and therefore we invite you to help support us if you would like to do so by going to our website, which is marincoalition.org, and you can support us there if you would like to do so. This, by the way, is our 50th anniversary, as I've noted before, and so if you haven't heard that before, we've been around a long time, and we're hoping to keep it going another 50 years. So thanks for helping us get there. The one program that we have scheduled so far at this point is May 1st at 1 p.m. We will be inviting and hearing from, hopefully I'm saying this right, Rhea Su, did I pronounce that correctly? Okay, who is the president and CEO of the Marin Community Foundation. So that is May 1st. All right, before we get rolling, let's make sure our cell phones are all off or muted or whatever, and we will rock and roll. Today we're again honored to present Assemblymember Damon Connolly, who will give us an update on the bills proposed in Sacramento this session, including those that he has authored. He will also provide a discussion of his efforts to protect our district from the current administration efforts in Washington to dismantle the actions of the state of California on several fronts. A former Marin County Supervisor and San Rafael City Council member, Damon was elected to the California State Assembly in November of 2022, and he represents the 12th Assembly District. Okay, so where is that exactly? I had to look that up because I wasn't entirely sure. It turns out that the district includes nearly 500,000 Californians, all of Marin County, as well as about 50% of Sonoma County, all falling within Damon's district. Perhaps most importantly, his constituents include the Russian River Brewing Company in Santa Rosa, which is where Pliny the Elder IPA is made. So you know he's got an important constituency. Anyway, moving on, Damon has been representing the North Bay communities for 18 years as supervisor, vice mayor of San Rafael, school board president, and California Deputy Attorney General. He was also founding board member and board chair of Marin Clean Energy. A former supervising deputy California AG, he has served the Marin County as Marin County representative on the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, as well as president of the Workforce Alliance of the North Bay. As a state assembly member, Damon serves as the chair of the Committee on Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials, and is a member of several policy committees. I will list them: Judiciary, Budget Subcommittee number 4 on Climate Crisis, Natural Resources, and Agriculture. Did I get all those? Yeah. Okay. It is now, again, my honor and privilege to welcome back to our podium Assemblymember Damon Connolly.
Thank you so much, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. My apologies for being a little bit late. I don't know if you've been on Highway 80 around West Sacramento of late. A little bit of construction going on, but all good. Wonderful to be able to come here directly from Sacramento. We were in session today. Very interesting time of year now, and we'll go over a little bit about what's going on in terms of bill consideration, committees. The budget process is now in full swing, culminating in June, where we'll be asked to pass a budget. So that's a very interesting process going on now. So let me talk a little while, but really want to hear what's on your mind. I think and by the way, thank you so much for the opportunity to represent you as your assembly member. I think the two best counties in the state, just saying, Marin and Sonoma. Although you may have seen the announcement a little bit earlier today, a new endeavor on my part that could involve 7 counties, but that's for another day. Thank you. Yeah, excited about it. So I want to hear your ideas, your thoughts, what's on your mind. What I love about representing our area is no one is shy, so we hear from many of you frequently throughout the year, and just want to reaffirm how important that is. Johanna James of my staff is here from my Marin office. We also have a Santa Rosa office quite near the Russian River Brewing Company, conveniently. So interesting that that came up. Fun place for sure. I'm currently in my second term in office, year 3. We were able to pass 13 bills and get those signed into law the first couple years, which was very rewarding. We have introduced 20 bills this year, so not one to rest, so to speak. So we'll go through a few of those, but hopefully, do you all get my newsletter? Yes. Thank you. I mean, you never know, right? I mean, we put a lot of effort into the newsletter, and I got to tell you though, a lot of times I'll be walking down the street and people will say, "Great newsletter." I'm like, wow, did not know anyone reads it, but thank you. So yes, please continue to look for that once a month. So obviously our job in Sacramento changed in a couple of key respects as we headed into this year. One was the devastating wildfires in Los Angeles and the reverberations from that. Including making sure everyone was safe down there, but also kind of now really the recovery effort. So a lot of budget talk, a lot of efforts have been directed in that way. Of course, we know at the same time we are not immune from wildfire here. That's probably the top issue in our communities that I hear from in both Marin and Sonoma. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The other big change, of course, was the new administration in Washington, D.C. Where do we even begin? I will just say that not a day goes by now where we're not actually confronted with a threat, I'll use that term, whether it's to critical funding that we rely on in California, gutting of departments that our residents rely on, like the Department of Education. Illegal, in my view, I'm not mincing words, conditioning of funding on other things, like you're not going to get wildfire funding unless you agree to voter ID or whatever the case may be, right? That's very inappropriate and very illegal. So we got to work pretty quickly to develop a strategy around pushing back hard on that, not just on protecting funding, protecting programs, but really standing up for the values that I think we hold so dear, not just in California, but particularly the North Bay. And so I just wanted to give you a sense of that and would love any thoughts or questions. It's to the point where just every day now we're hearing from folks in our district office or Sacramento. They're scared, they don't know, and right on cue, right, the stock market just tanked today as we enter into ill-conceived trade wars with allies previously. You can't make this stuff up. I know Congressman Huffman is speaking out loudly on this, but really it's every level of government right now. I joke, kind of, it's not really a joke now, but oftentimes people will just call and say, Congressman Connolly, what the heck are you guys doing? I'm like, thank you for the promotion, number one, but number two, yeah, we gotta do more together. So I think working at every level of government, working with our community members, we're not going to stand for this, and we will get through it together. So just wanted to really make that clear. I'm on a number of good committees, as was mentioned. They dovetail with a lot of the work that we kind of really value here in the North Bay. A lot of environmental stewardship, as well as this new committee chairmanship, which is really cool, which is environmental safety and toxic materials. So a lot of work around pesticide regulation, keeping school sites and areas near schools safe from aerial spraying. That was a fight I took on last year. We are still trying to get over the finish line on preventing Caltrans from spraying along highways in communities like ours where they've banned certain pesticides. That bill got vetoed last year, but we'll keep fighting for that. But thank you to everyone who really helped us get that almost across the finish line. Let's talk about one of the key issues. I mentioned wildfire prevention, and ensuring that we have the funding for that is crucial, but a related issue, and there's always a show of hands when I bring this up, the fact that too many of us are losing their home insurance or are being priced out of the market right now. So we're on it. Again, this is a top issue for us. Thus, this year, I introduced Assembly Bill number 1. Now, there's a story on how a bill becomes number 1, and it kind of involves on the first day of session when everyone's just getting sworn in and all that, getting first in line at the desk. So literally raced up there, tried to make it not too obvious for the cameras, and we were able to do that because for me it was symbolic. This is a bill we tried to get over the finish line last year, and what it would do would be to strengthen the Safer from Wildfires program. This is it within the Department of Insurance, and says if you are a homeowner who is doing everything we're asking you to do around hardening your own home, managing vegetation, joining a Firewise community, which Marin and Sonoma lead the way on nationwide, frankly, per capita. Thank you, good job, you guys. Not only should you not be losing your coverage, you should be incentivized to do all that by getting discounts. So we got this bill back on track, symbolically number 1 this year. It just passed unanimously in the Assembly Insurance Committee with bipartisan support. 10 of my colleagues on the spot in that committee room signed on as co-authors. Not only do we have consumers on board, resident groups, the insurance companies even came on board on this one. So I think efforts are afoot now. This is one bill of a larger package. This is how oftentimes things get done there. Different legislators pick off a certain piece of an issue. We work with the regulators, we work with the governor, of course the Senate as well. So you're going to see a number of key initiatives going forward on tackling this crisis. So I don't think we can rest till the market stabilizes, and it looks like it's holding so far in terms of the LA situation. But we know that risk is just around the corner for us. Did anyone attend the recent state-sponsored forum in Marin, but kind of highlighting the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority? I saw you there, that's right. Really highlighting, we are doing it here. We can't rest on our laurels, but the fact that voters stepped up, they passed the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority initiative. They're doing great work, but they're modeling some of these very things we're talking about around what, at the home level, what we need to be doing, and at the community level. Combined with AB1, I was one of the main folks working on the climate bond, particularly the section around wildfire prevention. Again, thank you voters. Last November, we passed Proposition 4, which was a historic $10 billion investment in climate action in the state of California. Clean water, clean air, wildfire prevention, nature-based solutions. So wildfire in particular, $1.5 billion total. I was able to actually get a specific provision in that for $135 million toward home hardening in particular. So that money will be available to residents, communities as they go about doing, again, the things we want them to do. As part of, as Scott mentioned, I'm on what's called Budget Subcommittee 4. That deals with environment, climate, transportation, energy, agriculture, a really good one to be on. One of our main assignments this year, and we're doing it week by week systematically, is going through all the allocations through Proposition 4. So if you have any particular interests in that climate bond or any of the sections, get in touch with me. That process is ongoing now. We can see some issues we're going to have with the governor, frankly, who was never fully on board with that bond, interestingly. But that's just part of the process, and we'll continue to work through that. I mentioned some of the other threats where many of us are perceiving vis-a-vis the federal administration. I mean, it's not just federal funding, it's the rights of our immigrant community, right? And in our case, many of these folks are in our communities working, paying taxes. They've been here over 10 years, many times much longer than that. Their kids are in school, etc. So again, a package of bills coming out right now. The one I have is AB 419, Immigration Rights Education in Schools. So this bill requires schools to post the Immigration Enforcement Actions at California Schools Guide for students and families. Kind of a mouthful from the AG's office. It's known as Know Your Educational Rights. And that'll be posted in both English and Spanish at schools and on the internet website of the local education agency, in our case, NCOE, and they're supporting this. All children have a right to pursue public education without fear. Every family has a right to step on a public school campus without fear, regardless of their immigration status. That is the values that are motivating me on that. You may have heard, I will also say we are hearing loud and clear from families in our community with trans youth. That is another topic right now that undoubtedly we are facing unprecedented threats from the federal government. California proudly has protected trans rights and civil rights more broadly. That will continue to be a huge topic throughout the remainder of this session as well. On a lighter note, you may have heard or perhaps participated in There Ought to Be a Law competition. And hopefully you may have even read the recent article about this year's winner. So we get 300 submissions to this every year. So I'm thinking about renaming it to the Be Careful What You Wish For initiative. But all good. Again, we're always amazed at just the great range of ideas and quality of those ideas. So, thanks to Evelyn's son-in-law, Gary Newman, a resident, I believe, of San Anselmo, and based on her experience with the DMV, she is an elderly resident, I believe like 97, voluntarily gave up her driver's license, as we kind of want folks to do at some point in life, right? I'm not judging, but that's kind of the goal. But when she did that, she found it was really a hassle to get a basic ID card that she could then use to fill prescriptions or do whatever we need IDs for in life. So Gary's idea was to have the DMV automatically issue a valid California ID to seniors who voluntarily give up their driver's license. So we introduced a law on that that will allow folks to do, for the DMV to do that. It'll be very interesting to see how the bill goes forward. And thank you to the IJ for covering it. Thank you for all the support we're receiving. Sometimes stuff up there is counterintuitive though. These agencies will find a way to say, oh, that'll cost like, pick a number out of your hat, right? $50 million or something, who knows? But that's why we have to kind of stay vigilant on some of these great ideas, and I'm thinking the best for that one. I mentioned the climate bond. I wanted to mention one other topic, and then just quickly close and then hear your thoughts and questions. Just about how gratifying it is that ideas that come forward from the community, we're able to work together, get something done, and then it has a real world impact on our community. So who would have thought, but I think the crystal clear example of this was an issue we all started realizing about a year or two ago, and that was these darn youth riding their e-bikes up and down our streets, right? Who would have thought? But it quickly became evident that, because we all encourage bike riding and certainly e-bikes to get to school and elsewhere, but too often it was no helmet, 3 kids to a bike. These are the bikes that you don't even have to pedal, it's just throttle and just scooting around doing wheelies. And nothing necessarily against that, but the problem became evident. I work with Supervisor Mary Sackett and actually the medical community. We were actually seeing a huge spike in actual trauma injuries from youth coming into the hospital. And in one extreme case, actually a young lady who actually helped us do the bill, who was in a coma from an e-bike accident. She luckily not only lived, but is well on her way to full recovery. But talk about a powerful spokesperson for that bill. So AB 1778, which would restrict use of this throttle assist, which are class 2, they're called. They accelerate very rapidly. That on a pilot basis in Marin, although interestingly we're hearing from a lot of other counties now, they want to do it too. But sometimes the way things roll in Sacramento is you get kind of whittled down to a pilot to start out with. That's what happened here, which we were fine with. So what AB 1778 says is youth under 16 prohibited from class 2, and you have to wear a helmet. There's other legislation going on about unlawfully modifying these bikes so they go even faster than the already fast speed allowed, and some other issues as well. So it's an ongoing discussion. But AB 1778, my bill was signed by Governor Newsom last year. Interesting little side story because the governor's now our neighbor again, right? He actually went over to the young lady's house and signed the bill there. Yeah, which was a nice step. So the next step is this now enables the county, working with cities and towns, to come up with local ordinances in line with the bill. So the county last week introduced an ordinance for the pilot program, again prohibiting under 16, require all riders regardless of age to wear a helmet on these throttle e-bikes. We expect, and someone was just mentioning as we were walking in, our cities and towns to follow with a similar ordinance in their jurisdiction. If that's of interest to you, please speak out to your cities and towns. I know Tiburon just did it. The pilot program will be enforced starting on July 1, 2025. Budget we talked about as well. A lot of uncertainties. It looks fairly balanced this year, but again, so usually what happens is there's a May revise, which is just kind of a tweak to the January budget. This May revise is literally just going to be a new budget because the earlier version was before the fires, before things really started kicking in at the federal level. So I think the May revise is going to be really important this year. So more to come on that. With that, why don't we open it up to anything on your minds as well? Would love to hear.
Okey-doke, here we go. Is this working?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a question and an FYI.
Okay.
The question has to do with the immigrant workers in agriculture. I'm just wondering, have many just left the seasonal workers that would come from, I guess, Mexico to our Central Valley and pick crops, and also working as caregivers and such? I'm wondering if they're leaving or they're too scared to come, and the impact on agriculture because of that. Also, here's my FYI in regard to fire safety. I just wanted to mention, being that there are some representatives here of that there's Marin Valley Mobile Country Club Estates, which is a mobile home park, has really I'm not a resident there, but I've learned about some of the efforts for Fire Safe Marin. They're really doing excellent things. And it's just an FYI in terms of a model,
Thank you.
example.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention.
And I do a lot of work with mobile homes, so yeah, I appreciate that.
But as a way of the community, of neighbors organizing in a community, learning how to communicate and work together to create some models.
Great point.
And I think they've done a really outstanding job, at least from what I noticed.
And on the impact on immigrants, you're absolutely right. I don't think we've fully quantified the impact now on, for example, the agricultural sector, construction, etc. I think judging from what we're hearing from the community, though, people are scared. So it is impacting behavior. So I think we do need to get a handle on that. But again, I think we need to stay committed to protecting the rights of our community members. Stephen.
Scott Wiener, as I understand, is proposing to repeal CEQA restrictions, I guess in housing, since that's his main focus. And I've been asked to pass on to you a position to what Scott wants to do.
Yeah, and I did overhear mention of that recently. I don't think the bill has been seen yet in all its kind of parameters. My understanding, it may be a blanket CEQA exemption for all infill housing. That seems way overbroad to me. Of course, that's part of what we are facing up there still. I would say over the last many years, the trend has been moving away from what we would call local control of these decisions to more a state top-down approach. So I'm fully aware of the concerns. Let's keep in touch. The Wiener bill sounds like it could be the main one, but there could be others. One thing that has emerged last year, and I understand it may also again emerge this year, is high-density housing in our coastal zones, kind of facilitating that, which in my view also would be in the wrong direction. That's not to say we need to look for housing solutions, and I think we are. I think Marin and Sonoma have a story to tell on that. I think supporting things like financing, which is oftentimes the issue. But I, for one, and I know this view is shared in this room, am not willing to forego local communities being able to play a key role in decision-making in this area.
Okay, I'll work my way around. Anybody here? Questions?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah, good seeing
being
you.
here. Question about Prop 4.
Yes.
Those, that climate bond, specifically the, I think it was 1.5.
For the
billion
wildfire, yeah.
Yeah, how is that distributed? Is that through state agencies or?
Yeah, it precisely. So the bond language itself is fairly detailed about the different allocations of money. It will flow through state agencies with oversight from the legislature. So as I mentioned earlier, which is good, I'm on the subcommittee that's doing that now. So as part of our overall oversight role of these agencies, this is a key part this year. I'll throw this out because I may need your help. One thing this governor is trying to do is utilize Prop 4 funds to backfill, the B word, other state obligations. We feel that the voters' intent and our intent in writing it was clearly to have it be a new source of money toward these key programs. So we're going to push back hard on the backfill. It's a little bit inside baseball, but important.
Questions around here? Where are we next? Hey, Susie.
Hi, Damon, thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course.
You might expect I'd ask a question about housing, but I'm going to forego that because
I tried to preemptively assure, just get that out there,
Instead,
yeah.
my question is, I understand Gavin Newsom is proposing that there be pullback against the tax credits and other aspects of solar and individuals who have
Yes.
installed solar panels and counting on the investment having some continued value. Can you say anything about that?
Short-sighted in my view. I still have the knives from last year in me from the solar fight, yeah. But I'm not going to give up. Yeah, so last year was more NEM 3, Net Energy Metering 3.0. This is about rooftop solar, incentivizing folks to do it. So NEM 1.0 and 2.0, some of you may be in it, was pretty generous and it served a purpose. Our stated goal was that rooftop solar was going to be a key part of meeting our very ambitious climate goals by 2030 and 2045. We're not meeting those right now, by the way. But I would like to think it still makes sense both in terms of our overall goal, but also just residents being able to save some money on their homes, home electricity bills, and the like. I'll say utility bill costs, by the way, are another major issue. They're outrageous now. So pushing back on proposed rate increases, frankly, PG&E's use of ratepayers to fund all these wildfire things, oftentimes with little accountability. They tend to pick the most expensive way to do things to get a return on what they're doing. So things have to change, but I digress on that. So what's being proposed? Yeah, so NEM 3.0 proposed last year. I did a bill to kind of work with that to make sure we weren't throwing the baby out of the bathwater. But my bill died and NEM 3.0 went away went forward as if that wasn't bad enough. The new proposal is now to retroactively get rid of NEM 1.0 and 2.0. Now, back in law school, I seem to remember that's called a breach of contract. But anyway, there's a headlong effort to do this. Frankly, I believe it's part of a way of almost, what's the right word, demonizing rooftop solar customers for supposedly being responsible for these high rates. It's not excessive executive salaries at the monopoly utilities. It's not overspending or misspending on, wildfire stuff. It's you, the rooftop solar owner, in what's called the cost shift. So I think hopefully there's going to be pushback. I can almost write the lawsuit myself on the breach of contract issue, but that's out there. I think for whatever reason, this governor and some interests want to completely go to more utility scale solar and kind of not incentivize rooftop anymore. The public doesn't buy it, but sometimes that doesn't matter in our state capital. So more to come on that.
Speaking of, is this working? I feel like I'm having trouble. All right, one sec. I just got to follow up. How to pop quiz on PG&E. Total compensation for the CEO of PG&E last year. I don't expect you to know this, but I read this in the paper.
Probably at least 10 million.
15 million dollars.
15? Yeah.
Add the 10 to the 15 and double it. $50 million is what I read. Don't quote me, but I was pretty shocked.
Yeah.
But that buys a lot of ads, right? Okay, sorry.
May I'd like to add a point to that.
Oh,
Yeah, let's hear.
yeah. There you go.
Hi, David.
Hey,
For those of you who have an interest in this topic, and thank you for raising that, I was planning to do so as well. There's an organization called Solar Rights Alliance.
Yes.
And they are an excellent organization, and you can make your voice heard through them.
we'll keep up the fight, but I'm going to need folks.
Solar Rights Alliance. Thank you.
Yes.
So my husband and I just bought a house last June in Sonoma. But before,
Town at Sonoma?
about 10 minutes from the
Yeah.
town. But before we did that, we looked all over Marin, and I checked on fire insurance, the whole way. And really, even in Novato, was not able to find fire insurance. Could not find it in Sonoma either. My carriers for other properties are State Farm, so they were no help.
Right.
And so we wound up with the FAIR plan.
Yeah.
It's very expensive, but what has me even more frightened is, with the fires in LA, is it going to survive, or what are the plans to make sure that it survives?
Yeah, so great question, and too often now the FAIR plan, which was intended to be the insurer of last resort, is now first resort. It's more expensive, it's not as good coverage, but everyone's being put on it. So part of the regulatory plan going forward is to do what's called depopulate people off the FAIR plan and back into coverage through admitted carriers. So as part of the Department of Insurance giving carriers certain things they want, like catastrophe modeling, the ability to incorporate reinsurance rates, which is kind of their insurance, into their rates. What's in it for the consumer? So one piece, as I mentioned earlier, is to strengthen Safer from Wildfires, the discount program, et cetera. The other is to mandate that carriers cover at least 85% of their state average of coverage in high wildfire areas too. Now it's a lot lower than that. Concurrently with that, there is a bill now to strengthen the FAIR plan. By all accounts, it will survive LA, but going forward we need to capitalize it more. So one of the bills kind of focuses on that. I just signed on as a co-author. So I think we all know all these issues, we just have to keep working through them right now.
I support the Polluters Pay Climate Superfund
Great.
of 2025, and I was wondering if you were planning to sign on as a co-author, because that would certainly help us pay for all of these problems that we're having.
Yeah, so I do. Do you happen to know the bill number on that?
I think it's in the assembly, it's 1243.
Okay.
And it's Dawn at.
It's Dawn, yeah. Yes, I have told Dawn I will sign on to that. You raise a good point, though. Not just the ambitious climate goals, but the federal threats. Whether you're talking about Medi-Cal, whether you're talking about wildfire funding, we could have a fiscal crisis very soon. So frankly, we're looking at new revenue sources too, in a fair and equitable way. One may be polluters pay. I'm looking right now, working with some colleagues, taking a hard look at these tax subsidies we're affording to, for example, multinational corporations doing business in California. There's a tax treatment called Water's Edge that it's estimated results in California receiving upwards of $3 to $4 billion less than it otherwise would if that subsidy didn't exist. And again, these are not California corporations. Many of them are oil and gas. So I think all of that is on the table right now. That'll be a heavy lift, but I think circumstances are changing as we speak. As the federal government blows a hole in our healthcare, safety net, etc. So more to come on that. You guys are asking a great question.
Well, mine might not be a great question because it's not about policy. We've watched you at the local level here in the county, and most of us are very familiar with our hometown councils and the scale of it and the cooperation and the efforts. And we also occasionally hear from the national legislators how it feels to be in a stonewalling group. And I was wondering if you could say a little bit about your personal experience of what it's like at the county level here compared with what it's like at the state level. How it feels, what it's like for you.
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say it's a completely different job, and I'll get into that a little bit. But at the same time, the experience I had in local government was crucial to be able to do this job well. Because really with that community level base and the relationships, that's again how I learn about what needs to happen, how we can do it. It's way different as a county supervisor when you only have to count to 3 versus an 80-member assembly where you have to count to 41. Let alone how things happen in committee. I learned, again, it was a wildfire insurance bill, interestingly, at the end of session last year. A bill can be held hostage, that's a thing, which happened. Just in the inter-house relationship. So much the better, I got to do AB1 this year, right? You always have to just keep going forward. I personally like this job. I think you have to, so the great thing about being a county supervisor is you are 2 of the 3 branches, right? And we all know judicial, executive, legislative. As a county supervisor, you're the executive, in addition to being the legislative. As a legislator, it's a way different job. I mean, basically, you're passing policy, you're deliberating. It seems like half the stuff we do up there, though, in any given year, is going back and having to do something new, saying, we actually really meant it 3 years ago. Agency, you need to do this. Because think about it, we're not the executive, right? So we can only say, here's the policy or here's the funding. So we have levers ourselves. But that has struck me that oftentimes you have to follow up and see whether it was actually implemented, if not why. And it may even require further legislation, like almost to the effect that we really meant it. So I'm kind of seeing that a little bit. It's almost, believe it or not, like a small level of gratification when we hear from an agency, like, we're doing this pursuant to your bill. I'm like, wow, all right, very cool. The system is working. So, you know, it's taken on added heft now because when we talk about a challenge to democracy, it really comes down to our system of those checks and balances and the three co-equal branches, right? So I think right now we're all waiting with bated breath, is the judicial branch going to hold, right? And that will become evident at the Supreme Court level. We will see, right? We could be entering uncharted territory at that point. But in the legislative role, I would say those are the differences. I really like it. Obviously, maybe I'm seeking to have more of it in a way, at least twice the territory. So yeah, it definitely has been a pleasure to be serving at this level.
So we probably have time for one or two more. I'll come over there in a minute. While I'm walking over there, Assemblyman, you want to tell us formally what the announcement is about the 7 districts? Because maybe some people...
7 counties, yeah. So I announced that I'm running for state senate this morning. So thank you. Yeah. So I'm all in. So that is because Pro Tem McGuire is termed out next year. So...
Very good. Okay, question here.
This sort of goes back to what you were just talking about. Is this on?
Yes.
About the 3 branches. And I keep saying to people that my view about how we got out of the Vietnam War was people in the streets.
Yep.
Which is, there's the 3 branches, and then there's us.
The people.
Us. Like, so, I wonder, okay, like April 5th is right around the corner,
Yes.
and a lot of stuff is going on April 5th. Okay, so how does that affect you when you're standing on the floor? Do you say, look, in my 2 counties, there were 10,000 people last weekend, or how does that play for you?
So crucial, very much so. That is what we are all paying attention to and encouraging. I would say not a weekend goes by now where there's not significant actions. I just spoke at one 2 weekends ago where there were at least 400 people out in the Sonoma Valley in a broad coalition. We're doing rallies, you know, to protect postal workers. You name it, right? So I think this Saturday there's going to be, I'm going to try to hit both Santa Rosa and San Rafael there, and I know that, I hope to see you. So it's instrumental in our system, as you noted, and wherever there have been inflection points, it has been people-led. The Vietnam War being probably one of the most famous examples. So we have to do that, and we have to do a lot of it.
All right. Oh, one more. Last one. Here we go.
Thank you. Following on what you just brought up, and expanding it a bit, we are all aware of this. Not looking at starting a revolution, but what about having a way whereby California, Canada, Mexico rebel and simply look at how we can detach ourselves from this madness Your thoughts?
We'll let that question linger all of us as food for thought. I mean, obviously, again, I always come back to California has to maintain its leadership. We cannot flinch. We have even done, in way less of a serious vein than the question just posed with you, subnational agreements on energy and the like, climate. So we'll let that question kind of hang out there, but yeah. What's your idea on it?
Well, you're running for the Senate.
Of California. So I will gladly promote my lane, which is to darn well ensure that Californians' rights and all the things we're leading on, and that includes dealing with the nation and the world as well, that we maintain that.
All right, let's hear it for Damon.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, well, thank everybody for showing up, for sticking around. I thought we had an amazing presentation. We had some incredible questions, and that's all we can ask for. So, Marin Coalition did it again. Thank you for being here, and we'll hopefully see you next time. And thank you again, Damon.